Hello, I'm Tim Jackson. I have the privilege of chairing the Competency Map Task Force. 18 months ago, CPA Canada and the provinces populated this task force with an incredible group of individuals. We have members from academia, members from private practice, members from public practice, and an incredible group of support staff from CPA Canada. We were given a very daunting task, and that was to create a new competency map, but to do it from scratch. We were told not to use the existing map and modify it, but rather come up with something new. And so while daunting, it was also an exciting project. And so we took that work and said, let's break it down into bite-sized chunks. And over the course of the last year and a half, we have worked together to come up with a map that you're about to review. When you review that map, you're going to see a few things. First is that it is much less dense than the current map. The current map consists of over 160 pages plus appendices. The new map that you're about to review is closer to 20 pages in length. We looked at how are you going to address the needs of the CPA of the future. And so we said, we will continue to root ourselves in the belief that post-secondary institutions will have a critical role. So when you read the new map, you will see that we are assuming that the bulk of work that new CPAs will, or skills and competencies they will acquire, will come through their work at post-secondary institutions. But we've also recognized that experiential learning is important. And so students will have to learn either on the job as co-ops or interns, or post-certification, some of the competencies that will be required. When you read the new map, you will see that there is a blend of human skills, professional competencies, as well as technical competencies. But we have hopefully woven a message through the new map that says one of the most important things a new CPA can know is learning how to learn. And so you will see that the new map ideally has an evergreen nature to it. It recognizes that technical knowledge is very important, but it also acknowledges that technical knowledge changes constantly. And so we need to have a map that is adaptable and can be amended as things around us change. So for example, we think it's important that a new CPA understand what a tax credit is, but we don't necessarily think it's important that a new CPA has memorized a list of 100 tax credits that exist at a point in time. So in short, you end up with a new map that is less prescriptive and allows the profession to adapt as the world around us changes. When you read the new map, I hope there are three things you take away from it. First is that we took an evidence-based approach. We spent time starting off by looking at what research exists out there. We did a review of literature. And then we actually commissioned our own first-party research. Some was done in the traditional ways that you would think about doing research. Some was using new methods, using artificial intelligence. So very much taking a research-based approach to the new map. The second is that we have, and we will continue to consult broadly and widely. We conducted more than 100 sessions with people around developing the new map. They ranged from small groups to very large sessions with hundreds of people. And so hopefully you will see in the new map that it reflects the views of the stakeholders. It reflects the views of what people told us they thought were important for the competencies of the new CPA. And the third thing I hope you'll take away is that the map is not the end of a process, it's the beginning of a process. There will be implications for this new map around certification, around ongoing professional development. And so over the coming months, CPA Canada and the provincial CPA bodies will be releasing information about how the new map will impact things like certification and ongoing professional development. We're excited to have you review this map and to provide your comments on it. It's been 18 months in the works, and we're now thrilled to have it out there to the general public so that you can actually provide us your thoughts as to whether we're on the right path or not. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Irene, one of our task force members, who has been working with me over the last 18 months to really pull the specifics of the map together. So Irene, I'll let you take us through some of the details.
Thanks, Tim, and thanks everyone for joining us today. My name's Irene Wiecek, as Tim said, and I have the pleasure of being a member of the Competency Map Task Force. So let's go to the next slide, please. Here's the outline for what we want to talk about today. We just want to take you through the design of the map and the structure of the map. So we'll look at the educational ecosystem first, and then we'll look at some highlights, and then we'll do a deep dive into the map. We'll look at the framing principles, the ethical mindset, the decision process cycle, the integrated common core, proficiency levels, and then next steps. So let's go to the next slide. So this slide is about the educational ecosystem, and you can see that there's many stakeholders involved in the CPA educational ecosystem, including academics and employers and those involved with licensure, the existing professional education program people, the Competency Map Task Force that is looking after the map that is out there right now. And so you can see Competency Map 2.0 is at the heart of this ecosystem. We are the agent of change that will help transform the profession. And the Competency Map 2.0 will inform the next stage of the transformation, which is called Certification 2.0. And Certification 2.0 will look at the professional education program, the experiential requirements, and the assessments. And that program will run alongside us as a sort of a sister initiative, a sister project throughout the summer and the fall. Next slide, please. So at a high level, a couple of things there, that we espouse in the map. So we are preparing future-ready CPAs by, number one, fostering human skills, and human skills that are resilient and resistant to the forces of automation. And those skills include things like curiosity and creativity. Number two, creating future-focused pre-certification CPAs who understand complex and interconnected systems and are tech-savvy in order to capitalize and take advantage of the technology and other innovations that are around us all today. Number three, laying the foundation for evergreen learning. And evergreen learning is about curiosity. It's about a thirst for knowledge. And it's about a commitment to continually acquire knowledge and skills, especially in the face of change. Number four, focusing on a foundational common core, which will facilitate collaboration. We're getting into newer spaces, sustainability, data science, and as CPAs, we need to be able to collaborate with other experts in those other fields. Number five, embedding an ethical mindset. That is who we are. We can't get rid of that. I mean, it's the essence of who we are. So the emphasis will be on integrity. And number six, embracing the higher calling of the profession. So that is the acting in and protecting the public interest in an increasingly complex and diverse global environment. And of course, that doesn't mean that we're going to jettison the core of who we are now at the traditional CPA. So we're bringing logic and structure and trust to the decision process. We will absolutely be continuing to do that. Next slide, please. Okay, let's next talk about our Competency Map 2.0 framing principles, and we have 5 of them. So number one is that the map is evergreen, and it's underpinned by evolving research and an evolving governance process that's agile. Number two, it reflects the CPA Foresight accountant's ethical mindset, and I will touch on that in a moment. Number three, it lays the foundations for action and evergreen learning in our changing environment, and you will see in the map a foundational common core. Number four, the map is principles-based versus being prescriptive. It's a smaller map, as Tim mentioned. It's under 20 pages, and the idea is to ensure that stakeholders take it on board and digest it and use it on a frequent basis. Number five, it connects the technical and professional competencies with human skills and values. These are not separate. I think we know that, but sometimes they get pulled apart in the educational process. So in the competency map, you will see that we have integrated them in the integrated common core and the decision process cycle. Next slide, please. This slide is from some research that McKinsey did. We have a robust research portfolio that underpins the map, but that involves not only original research, but also we've drawn on research that's done, including industry research such as this. And this piece of research polled executives during COVID, and it looked at the time required to respond to or implement change. And it was looking at the expected time versus the actual in number of days. So for instance, the first item there, increase in remote working and or collaboration. Pre-COVID, executives estimated it would have taken them 454 days to adapt to that or to change or move over to that environment. And during COVID, it took 10.5 days, which is incredible. And so I think that's 43 times faster. And again, just truly incredible. So the point here is that companies are over the technology tipping point, and it speaks to the need for agility and resilience at the core of the map. Let's go to the next slide. So the ethical mindset that we mentioned, which was one of our 5 framing principles, we asked the question, why do people trust CPAs? And it's a question of who we are, what we do, and where we do it. And who we are, there's a traditional piece that is enduring, and that's that we are ethical and we act in and protect the public interest with integrity, objectivity, and competence. And the second piece is a more forward-looking piece. You know, we are innovative, collaborative, agile, curious, creative, all those other words. And so we've sort of broadened it a little bit. What we do, we sustain and create value for stakeholders by bringing logic, structure, and trust to the process of measuring and managing performance. So it's in the context of resource allocation, allocating resources to what stakeholders believe is important. And where we do it, and we do it in a global and ever-changing environment. Next slide, please. This is our decision process cycle, and there's 5 steps in the decision process, starting at the top with the purple, assess the situation and decide what needs to be done, through planning, design, implementation, measuring, monitoring, recalibrating, then completing if it's a discrete project, and then reflecting and learning. And the evergreen learning are the 2 green arrows, you know, recalibrating and reflecting and learning. So it's embedded in there. And you can see in the middle, the decision process cycle is based on the integrated common core, which is the tree. So the tree is at the center, and we will talk about the tree next. So next slide, please. So this is the integrated common core, and it's made up of 2 sort of parts. On the right, you can see that the foundational common core, which is made up of specific competencies, foundational competencies, and sub-foundational competencies. And then the ethical mindset, which is made up, as we discussed earlier, of the human skills and values and the professional competencies. And the tree is an interconnected system. And so the sub-foundational and foundational competencies are represented by the trunk and the roots, and they represent our deep-rooted and enduring qualities. The human skills and values and the professional competencies are the nutrients that run through the tree and sustain it, and they represent the centrality and importance of human skills and value and professional competencies. And finally, the specific competencies are the leaves, and that part of the tree is agile and changes with the changing environment. The leaves change color, they may fall off. If the wind blows, they blow too. So the whole model is organic and agile, and it's a responsive model. So this is how we're sort of framing the map. Let's go to the next slide, please. Proficiency levels. So we talked a lot about proficiency levels. So proficiency is explained through the use of verbs in the competencies. And you can see to the right-hand side, we have a spectrum of verbs, which runs from gold at the bottom, number 1, to purple, number 5. And at the lower level of proficiency, we use verbs like describe and identify. And at the higher level, the purple level, we use words like, or verbs like collaborate, create, design, and formulate. And so we've got this spectrum. So that's how we signal proficiency. And we also signal it through the sub-foundational, foundational, and specific competencies in the Common Core. And each of those has a different level, which I'll just touch on next. But we wanted to make sure that we said this map goes deep as well. We're not sort of sacrificing depth because we're bringing in additional breadth. So depth is demonstrated by the use of higher proficiency verbs. So you'll see more verbs that, are number 2, 3, 4, 5, on that end of the spectrum. The foundational and specific competencies are at an intermediate or higher level. The sub-foundational competencies that are at a lower level. And the third bit about regarding depth is the rigor in the decision process cycle and the decision competencies. And it's about that bringing logic, structure, trust to the decision process. So you'll see that in the decision competencies. Let's go to the next slide. So this is our decision process cycle again, and it's the framework that if you have to go somewhere or start somewhere, this is where you're going to start. And we have 35 competencies in total, and they're made up of decision competencies and the integrated common core. And the decision competencies are build on the integrated common core. So remember, the decision competencies go around the outside of that circle. And there's 24 of them, but they do build on that tree that we just talked about. And remember, the integrated common core, that's the human skills and values and professional competencies, they're fully integrated into that model. We have 11 competencies there, 2 at the sub-foundational level, 3 at the foundational level, and 6 at the specific. And the sub-foundational relate to general and emerging areas that are present in the global environment within which CPAs work. The foundational refers to business, government, and other organizations, the way they're structured and operate. And the specific relates to professional accounting. So you'll see in the sub-foundational, we've got things like equity, diversity, inclusivity, Indigenous views, systems thinking, emerging technologies. In the foundational, we've got things like sustainability, economics, law, organizational behavior. And in the specific, we've got things like value creation, finance, accounting, assurance, tax, data analytics. Okay, so those would be the specific. Okay, next slide, please. So next steps, we are hosting several open houses and drop-in sessions throughout July and throughout the comment period. So please come and join us. At the end of this video, you'll see a website you can go to, and we have the dates there. So please sign up and join us. We'll give you further information, and we want to hear your views. Submit your feedback. We've got a feedback survey, which will also be on our website. So please feel free to complete that. We are collecting demographic information as well, because our process is that we want to be inclusive. We want to make sure we hear from everybody. But also throughout the consultation events, feel free to give us your feedback, and we'll take that on board as well. The third thing there is we're developing support materials in conjunction with the Certification 2.0 project. So look for those on the website. Let's go to the next slide. So I just want to say thanks from Tim and myself and from the task force. Thanks for joining us today. We're very excited about being involved in the transformation of the profession, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks again.
Thanks very much.